carbon footprint or whatever.
A lot of these plastic stuff.
Global warming.
Wind or solar.
Minimizing waste.
Pollution.
Deforestation.
Clean energy.
Pollution.
The US, China, India.
Coal.
Global warming.
There are a lot of materials that are put to use and are just thrown in the trash.
Station.
Recycling.
Our food's all full of chemicals.
Recycling. Oil spills.
Animals in the environment.
The rainforest.
The developing world.
Everything is disposable.
Global warming.
The destruction of the Amazon.
Climate change.
Electricity use too.
I don't think the Tufts community is as interested as people would hope it would be in environmental issues.
Tufts tries to portray itself as really green, but I don't think it necessarily lives up to it all the time.
Teachers right now are trying to encourage us to save paper by doing more things online, and they try to give out less handouts.
I haven't really encountered too much discussion of environmental issues in class.
I don't know anything about environmental issues. I've never learned about it in class. I haven't spoken to a professor about it.
I don't think I've really had any specific teaching in environmental issues, but I don't think I've necessarily sought that out.
Maybe faculty might be kind of reluctant just because of having to reformat their classes, and it takes a lot of work to put together a good course.
I wouldn't be an advocate for incorporating into non-environmentally focused classes because I just don't think people have that much of an interest. And those who do have an interest have the opportunity to pursue that interest in classes that are focused in that direction.
I don't agree with his statement about it can't be incorporated into other classes, because I feel as though at Tufts you should have a well-rounded education, and if you're never exposed to it by specifically taking one of those 3 classes or what have you, you may go through 4 years and never be exposed to that kind of education, which is not why you would pay $40,000 a year.
I definitely think that environmental issues can be incorporated into non-environmental classes.
It's really stressed on this campus how much we need to understand about the environment, and incorporating into classes could only do better things, I think.
It's important to know about it, even though we don't study it. I believe it's interesting to learn about.
I think you could tie it into a lot more classes than it is currently.
I think it could be relevant, especially classes that are about modern society.
Studying history, there's always been interaction with the environment.
I do think that students would be really interested in it, and it would maybe even convince people to take courses that they otherwise may not take.
And I think it's interesting, even if you're not focusing on environmental studies, to understand how what you study and how it could affect the environment, and maybe what we could do with the career we are pursuing to help the environment.
I think there are certain classes that it should be incorporated into, and people could benefit from.
I think environmental issue could be inserted into non-specifically environmental classes.
Political, economic things, they all have to do with the environment.
Incorporating it into something that would relate to the curriculum could be really interesting.
I'd probably take it if it was in a class as opposed to people sitting and walking and stuff like that, because I don't usually have time outside of class to listen.
One of the reasons I think putting environmental stuff in the curriculum is such a good idea is because that's actually where students are really attentive, really doing the reading and wanting to get good grades, and that's where they're going to really learn the real thing about environmental issues.
Professors, I think, should try to be objective and not really have agendas, so that would be kind of worrisome to me if they were trying to push forward some agenda, even if it's an agenda that I totally agree with.
Not just to have a one-sided approach to the issue, but sometimes also be able to put things into question and kind of be critical to the given science or the given ideas.
I think we do need to watch the line between how incorporated things are.
You say I have a manufacturing class, that might be interesting to learn how manufacturing can be better to, relate to environmental issues, but my fluid mechanics class, maybe it doesn't make sense.
I think there's so much to cover already that it would be really hard to fit that extra material in.
You could do it as an option, maybe as a project, to give them the option of doing it in different focuses so that people can pursue whatever avenue that they want to, but they're not forced into one certain niche.
It'd be interesting to incorporate it in a more cultural sense.
If you think of environmental questions of the everyday life, I think it's going to be tricky to involve that in special theoretical classes.
It's actually a lot easier than you would think to incorporate it because everything is connected, and every system that you're going to study is dependent on the environment in one way or the other.
Whether classes dealing on economics or on consulting, environment always creeps in somehow.
Incorporating that into the education would be key.